a brand new episode of the Happy Productive Podcast is about to begin. It's time to be inspired by simple and actionable solutions for you and your business. If you're an established entrepreneur or just laying down the first brick of your future empire, the mantra is the same. We will flip any failure into a positive and use it to our advantage. This show is all about turning coal into diamonds. With the right plan and mindset, anything is possible. I'm Jennifer Dawn, your host, business coach, and founder of Best Planner Ever, and I'm here to help you achieve all your ambitious goals. Success is closer than you think. Let's do this. Hey, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of the Happy Productive Podcast. I have to tell you, I had to hit record because Marla and I are having this fantastic conversation offline. And I'm like, wait, we need to actually record what we're talking about today. So you guys, I know you're going to absolutely love my next guest, Marla Mervis Hartmann. Marla, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. This is so good to be with you.
I know, right? And Marla and I, gosh, we met each other several years ago. I don't even know how many years. I was teaching a goals workshop in Southern California, and you came to my workshop, and we've stayed connected ever since then. But I don't even know how many years it's been, probably at least maybe 5?
Over 5. Yeah, probably close to 8. And it was such a powerful workshop. I just remember crying and always the sign of a good workshop if I cry.
Always the sign of a good workshop. That's so wonderful. Well, guys, Marla, you're going to absolutely love her. She's the creator of Love Your Body, Love Yourself, and she helps women access their yes to the question, do you love your body? And I know that's a hard question for me to answer, and I'm sure a lot of you as well. But guys, if you're listening, it's okay. Keep listening because this episode is for both men and women. And we're going to dive into some really great things around loving your body. And Marla, I would love for you to just share a little bit of your story. Like, where did you come from? How did you get to where you are today to helping people love their body? And I want you to, and at the end, we're going to share Marla's new book too. She's got a new book coming out as well. But tell us a little bit of your story.
Yeah. So as many entrepreneurs out there, you know that the passion that you have, right, is often what you're sharing. And so my passion is to help people to feel good in their body, to have freedom with food. And that's come from my long journey of a lot of dysfunction with my body and my food. And unfortunately, Jennifer, my story isn't this unique experience that's like, wow, I've never heard of that before, right? No, it's like, oh my gosh, she's telling my story is usually what I get because I really struggled with a lot of restricting, dieting. I never called it dieting. Right? I was above dieting, but I was just so healthy, right? I don't think they had this term back then, but orthorexic. So my food had to look absolutely perfect. And then it would just go to mayhem because I was starving and I was hungry. So it was a lot of restricting and binging. It was a lot of over exercising. It was a lot of control and it was a lot of fear. My life was driven by this fear of my body not being perfect. Now, let me tell you, Jennifer, I've been blessed and born into a body that has been strong and thin, and it did not stop me from really feeling the throes of diet culture and beating myself up with a lot of criticism in my thinking. And it's interesting because I want to touch on this point in my story because it's important. I didn't come from a lot of trauma, but it's what happens in our relationship with our body and food. We use our body, our food as a way to control life, right? Or if we feel uncomfortable with our body, that ding, 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 I'm supposed to lose weight. Oh, let me figure out my food, right? Whatever that is. Or we eat to soothe ourselves. And that's definitely what was happening for me. And I was someone who was born confident and had a lot of things going on. And I believe that I dumbed myself down dumbed my light.
Yeah.
Because I felt so uncomfortable. I didn't know what to do with a lot of attention that I got, either from my body or from who I was. And I believe that although so many people struggle with anxiety and all of that, I also feel, and I've heard it so many times with my clients, it's like they're afraid of their own power.
Yes.
They're
Yes.
afraid of shining. And I did
Yeah.
that subconsciously. And it wasn't until so many years later, because I've been in recovery. I still feel like I'm in the recovery zone because
Yeah.
food and body stuff is my way of coping, right? So if
Yeah.
there's stress, I start hearing those things in my head that tells me all these crazy things I don't listen to, but they're there, right?
Right. Right.
And it's just so important for us to realize, like, what are we hiding from? What was I hiding from? Like the true, authentic Marla, like, could I show up in that? And it wasn't something that you just turn the light switch on and like, oh, Marla, right? No, it's like
Yeah.
this slow muscle of like, is this safe? Is it safe to be me? Is it safe to be me? Is it safe to put down the food and feel the feeling? Is it safe to, allow myself to feel good, right? Because there was so much fear of accepting who I was,
Mhm.
accepting my body. And for a lot of people, accepting feels like if I accept my body, if I love my body, right, that means that I'm just giving up.
Right.
And acceptance is not giving up. Acceptance is actually changing the whole game. And you and I are talking a little bit about perimenopause and menopause.
Yeah.
And, for men as well, it's like as we age, we're doing all these things that have always worked. And then all of a sudden
Yeah.
they don't work anymore. And
Right.
that can be really frustrating. And it can be a beautiful opportunity. It can be this beautiful opportunity. It's like, who is this person?
Yes.
Who am I? What do I really want? Have I just been going in autopilot, feeding this, doing that, this, that? It's like slowing down. And my book is called Befriend Yourself, Finding Freedom with Food and Peace with Your Body. So it's about becoming our own best friend at
Yeah.
all stages of our life. And most importantly, and for what it pertains to this audience, for everyone, it's like, it's not just about finding freedom with food and peace with your body. It's like, now what?
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
you get to thrive in your business. Now you get to show up. Now you get to have that confidence and feel good regardless of what your body looks like, or if you just shoved a cookie in your mouth. You still get to serve.
Right.
You still are allowed to serve. Your soul is longing for you to do that regardless of how you feel in this moment, right? It's still like
Yes.
this light wants to come through.
Oh my God, Marla, you don't know this, okay? But this morning, I usually wake up before the alarm and I usually start my day before I'm physically ready to get my butt out of bed with just a little meditation. And this morning, as I'm laying in bed doing my little quiet mental meditation, some of these exact same things that you're talking about
Mhm.
literally were coming up this morning. So the fact that we're talking about it today, there are no coincidences. I just really believe. But this is exactly some of what was coming up because I have really struggled with my weight after menopause. And I didn't know. I know it sounds silly, you guys, to be like, how could you not know? But I think it started around 45, where I just sort of like was putting on a little weight. And I was doing a lot of Spartans. I was doing a lot of heavy exercise. And I think maybe I was slightly keeping it at bay, but not really. And then around 50, like, that sounds terrible. Say, 5 years, I'm like, I didn't realize. I knew I was kind of just like battling these pounds. I wasn't really having a lot of any other severe menopause symptoms. And then somebody was like, hey, are you going through menopause? I'm like, oh shit, I think maybe I am going through menopause because I'm right there at this age. And it's like, oh, right. And ran blood work and started like really looking at it. And then I really had to take about a year off of all the heavy exercise because it was just too much. I was just so
Totally.
fatigued and so tired. And now I've moved through it. I have great energy again. I am starting to really exercise again. I actually just did a Spartan a couple weeks ago and it felt pretty good to be back out there, but in moderation this time. But it's interesting to me, this concept of loving your body as it is, because I probably have, and you guys, I want to share this. So part of my journey, like you get on the scale and you're just like, you run your BMI and it's like, and I wasn't getting like as good of information as I wanted. And so I went and I had something called a DEXA scan done, and it's really easy, but the DEXA scan will tell you this is how much your visceral fat is, your extra fat, your bone density, your muscle, your lean muscle mass and all that. And it gives you real information because they like scan your body and it's super cool. And all this time I had been beating myself up thinking, you're this huge amount of weight overweight. But when I ran the DEXA, they were like, actually, your bones are in great shape. Your muscle mass is right where it needs to be. Visceral fat, they said you need to lose 1 pound of visceral fat. I'm like, okay, I can do that. And then the number was 30 pounds of extra fat that are on your body. I'm like, okay. So that's kind of like, now I have information. I know what I need to do. But where I really struggle is loving these extra 30 pounds of fat. Cause I'm like, it literally like makes me feel like such a lesser version of myself. Like I can be better and I feel myself doing it, even though generally like I have terrific confidence and I do love myself. I really do love myself. But it's like, how do I love this body that at times I have felt like, what is happening? Like, why is my body betraying me? But I know my body's talking to me. And then I'm like, well, what's it trying to say? So I know there's other people who are listening who are just like, like, how do you, like, I've heard this before, like, how do you love the body that you're in when that body isn't a version that you're like really proud of?
Okay, so we're going to hit this on a couple different angles.
Yeah, let's do it, Marla. Jump in. I will be your guinea pig today.
Yeah. Okay, so the question really is, Jennifer, it's like, how much of what you're saying is so what we're been fed our whole lives.
Okay.
Is this idea that it's extra fat. There's something wrong with me. I have all this fat. Like that is so diet culture. That's like you've been steeped in this idea that this weight means that it's wrong.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're healthy. You're doing things that are healthy. You're showing up. You're doing your meditation. You're in. I mean, I don't know your inner world, but like you're able to show up and be here. It's like we can always find something that we can beat ourselves up for. So if it wasn't that, would it be something else? Is it that next thing? Like we want to look at like, what are we using to beat ourselves up? And is it now you lost 10 of those pounds? Oh no, I'm mad at myself. I have those 20. Oh, now I have that 10. Oh, I'm going to get that 5, right? It's like, when is it enough, right? And we have to realize, and we do know this, but our body is going through cycles as a child, as puberty, as perimenopause, as menopause. And if you're in the bleeding stage, you realize that it's always changing, right? Every month it's changing. Your body is changing. So we have these moments in time where we may feel really great about our body. And it's like, well, don't hang on tight to that because that's going to change. It's like having that non-attachment and realizing that where you are right now is not the end of the line.
Yeah.
Right. And these moments where I'll look in the mirror, I'm like, oh, and it's like, no, you're going to be really happy about this moment in 10 years. So just slow down.
Right. It's so true. I look back at pictures. I look back at pictures and I'm like, oh my God, you look fantastic. But Marla, you hit on something so important. Okay. Like when I don't look in the mirror, I feel great.
Exactly.
I feel fan-fucking-tastic. If I'm being completely honest, like I feel I have great energy. I feel good in my skin. And then I look in the mirror and I'm like, oh my God, if I just didn't look in a mirror, I would not have, I wouldn't even be worried about it.
It's an interesting thing. And I do want to touch on what other things. I'm just pinning in here to talk about it. But what you just said, people talk about doing mirror work, right? Getting in the mirror and saying they love each other. I think sometimes mirror work means don't look in the mirror. Like I know there have been times in my life where it's like, if I look in the mirror, it's not safe for me to look in the mirror because I'm just going to be mean to myself. So I will say, I'm going on a mirror fast.
Yes.
We want to do these things. Like we want to be in control of our body, then control it in a way that is loving. No mirrors today. I'm not going to feel good. So let me just, what do I actually feel like in my own skin?
Right.
That's the most important. Right.
I love that. A mirror fast. That is so great. Because it's true. Like you go bebopping along, you're having a good day, you're looking good, you're feeling great. And then you see, like you pass that mirror and you're just like, oh, do I look like that? Right. And then you start to feel your energy, just like your emotional state just sort of like start to tank. I'm like, man, I was better off before I looked in the mirror. I was fine before that.
Right. And it's not, this is the thing. It's like, if you're doing it from the place of love, if you're doing it from the place of compassion, and this is the next point that I was pinning, is that we don't have to like our bodies, but we do need to love our bodies. So you may not
Mhm.
like that you have this extra 30 pounds, but what are you doing about it? Are you being mean to yourself? Are you beating yourself
Yeah.
up? Are you really honestly looking at like, are there ways that I am from? And this is the thing, we can't just put it on our weight. Our weight can be a symptom, but it's not like the weight. We think that we're healthier when our weight goes down, but that's not necessarily true. Like I
Right.
can look in the mirror and be like, ugh. And I'm like, but no, this is my body with me
Yes.
with a mental, like a clear, sane mind. Sure, I could maybe get 5, 10 pounds lighter. Well, I don't even think I could at this point, but I could try to do that. And then I would just be cuckoo crazy. It's like,
Right.
what is the most important? And in
Right.
this time where it's just like, okay, you need to eat 100 grams of protein and, this,
Yeah.
this, and this. It's like, okay, and what about my mental sanity? What about who am I when
Right.
I feel in pleasure, when I feel juicy and ready to take on the world?
Yeah.
Right. And does that mean
Yeah.
I'm restricting not eating that last piece of chocolate, or am I shoving that in my mouth, enjoying it, and running down the road? Right. It's like,
Yeah, it's so true. I think as I've gotten older, I just don't have the willpower to beat myself up to the finish line anymore. I don't know any other way to explain that.
yep.
Where back I would do these really like restrictive diets, I would do this intense exercise. And I just like I don't have the energy for that anymore. Like if I'm hungry, I want to give my body some food. I do try to make, I mean, I eat really healthy. I try to make a lot of healthy choices, a lot of healthy living foods. But it's interesting, like, I look back and go, well, back then I would just do this super restrictive diet and then the weight would come off. And I'm just like, I don't have the energy for it anymore. I just don't want to. I don't want to punish myself. I don't want to punish myself. But then I go, then you waffle back to the extra fat. And then it's like, but the only way I got it off before was to punish myself, but I don't want to punish myself. And then it just kind of feels like you're on a little bit of a seesaw, back and
And
forth and
that
back
is
and forth.
when, yes, and that is when something can bloom.
Mm,
So that's what I'm talking about when it's like, it's that discomfort. It's that, oh my gosh, my body is changing. What the heck is going on here? And it feels really, really uncomfortable. And then that's when we want to control. We want to grab. We want to do this. We want to do that. Even in our business, things feel out of control. What can I control? I control my body. I control my weight. I'm going to get up early. I'm going to do the things, blah, 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 right? And it's like when this doesn't work and this doesn't work anymore, then there is another space. And that space blooms from your internal, and you're slowing down to be with your body, to befriend what this body actually wants. And instead of looking at the external and going to Instagram or going to some health coach that now is telling you what to eat and how to eat and how many grams of this and that. And sure, if you need help around that, there is definitely a place for that. And I really encourage people when they don't know what to eat and they're really like, I really don't know, then sure. And how many times have we done that?
yeah.
And if you're someone who's been on this road for a while, then how about asking your body? And then the next
Mhm.
thing you're saying, yeah, but my body's just going to tell me to eat sugar. It's like, there's a part of you that may tell you that, but there's something underneath it. So we're getting deeper and deeper to this experience of like, what is my body's intuition? What does it
Yeah.
really want? What is it really in need of? Oh, I do need to rest.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't want to, right? But I
Right.
do need to rest.
I love that you gave me permission to love my body, but it's okay that I don't like the extra for me right now about my body. I'm not loving that extra fat, but there is a difference there. And I love that's a really powerful difference because in the bigger picture, I love my body. Are you kidding? Like this body has seen me through so many things. I've given birth to 3 beautiful children with this body. We really kind of breezed through menopause. It gained some weight, but other than that, like I hear about all these terrible symptoms that women
So
have. And
lucky.
we really like, I mean, I really haven't struggled with any of it, which has been great. And so I love that difference between like I can love my body as it is, but it's okay if I don't like this little bit over here that we're kind of like we're working on a little bit. That's really powerful to me. That's a powerful shift.
Yeah, because if those, like, I still have the voices, but I
Yeah.
don't really listen to them. And often those voices are either diet culture, subconscious, been in there forever, or it's this younger part of me that's still afraid.
Yeah.
Right. And it's really that opportunity to be like, we're actually okay.
Yeah.
And really teaching that. And that can be tricky when we're surrounded by community that is all about your body and your food. So it's important to look
Right.
around you. Who are you surrounded with around?
Yeah.
And are they talking about their body all the time? Are they talking about dieting? Are they, I, in my healing, have really helped to serve my family. It's like if someone says something mean about their body, they're like, love your body, love yourself, like
Yeah.
it's like, okay, we don't do that, right? It's not
Right.
okay. It's really not
Right.
okay to normalize being mean to ourselves, normalizing the criticism. If you were to ask me, Jennifer, what is the most important thing that you can do to change your relationship with your body and food, and to change your relationship with your work and your
Mm.
business and how you show up for your clients, and what is to notice how you're talking to yourself and the things that you're saying that
Mm.
are en route. Like, I have noticed that my thing is I'll wake up in the morning and then all of a sudden I'm like, I don't have enough energy. I'm really tired still. Right? And I go into this like spin. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been doing that every morning, and it's like, okay, here it is. I'm like, no, we're okay. We're just, this morning it was like, I have jet lag still, I'm like, we're all
Yeah.
going to be all right. We're going to get up. We're going to move our body. We're going to feel fine. But it's like catching those moments. Talking about
Yeah.
mirror, it's like, oh, every time I get up in the morning, I open up my closet and I go, oh, all this stuff. No, I don't like
Yeah.
anything that I'm going to wear. Oh, this feels
Yeah.
uncomfortable. Or the comparison,
Yeah.
comparing ourselves to others.
Yeah.
When are we doing that? That is the most, like, does it ever feel good? Does it ever feel
Never.
good to compare yourself to someone? Even when you're like, oh, well, I have this. It's just the ego. It's just the boosting
Yeah.
ourselves
Right.
up, right?
Right.
But it's looking on Instagram. It's looking on Facebook. It's judging ourselves. It's looking. And I did that all the time.
Yeah.
I did that
Yeah.
all the time. It was awful. It was
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, it really is awful. And it's interesting because I also see it, and I've been very aware of my two daughters.
Mm.
And even my son too, where if I make even a little comment, my daughter, her and I ride horses together, and she needs some new riding pants. And I'm like, last night pulling, I'm like, I have some riding pants that I can't fit into anymore that will probably fit you. And I notice that if I make a comment about, I'm not really loving where I'm at right now, that my daughter catches it and she's like, Mom, you look great. And it's like, oh, Jennifer, wait, you don't want to pass this down to your daughters. And when I look, my mother, my grandmother, like all did this body shame, and just they would eat, and they eat a lot of sugar. I don't eat a lot of added sugar, but I remember that they would like hide it, and you'd like walk around the corner and you'd see like grandma diving into the cookies that, and just shoving them into her face. It's so funny. I have to tell you, Marla. So my grandmother, I love her. She has passed. Some of her later years, one day she decided that she was going to kill herself. Now, I know that's not funny, but here's the funny part. She decided she was going to kill herself. And so my grandmother has always been a pioneer of health. She was one of the first women to go to chiropractic college growing up. She actually co-wrote a book about colon cleansing. This is a long time ago. And always was healthy foods, always preparing healthy foods, like always really encouraged us to eat lots of healthy things. And so she decided that she was like, had enough of this life. And so she went to the store and she bought several large bags of chocolate, and she just started eating the chocolate, because I think on some level she was convinced that it was so bad that she ate enough of it, she was just going to like off herself. And I'm like, Grandma, I love you so much. That's how I want to go to. I want to die by chocolate, literally death by chocolate. Like, that sounds great to me. She did not kill herself. She survived.
Enjoying her life more because she had more chocolate.
I know, right? She survived. But anyway, I just thought it was so funny that she had created all these stories around certain foods, even though she was so into health. And she just, that's what's going to kill me. It's like, well, it didn't. But anyway, like I would see them hiding and doing these things. And so I want to break that chain. I don't want to pass that down to my daughters, because they're beautiful. And that's the last thing I want them to do, is go through some of these same body issues that I've had and I've seen come down the line through my family.
Yeah, I think that our children are give us very good leverage to clean our act up a bit, right?
Yeah.
And how many times have I heard my clients say, well, my mom took me to Weight Watchers when I was 13, or my family, we were told to, always eat up, eat up, eat up, eat up, but then we had to be
Right.
skinny, and there was all this focus on what we looked like. So the mother, the father who really wants to instill that negative, that still positive body image, it's to really clean up, how are you holding yourself? What are you saying about yourself? How are you talking, right? And that's such a fascinating story, Jennifer. The whole thing is, these signs of how disordered eating was so normalized, where it's in the front, it's healthy, but around the corner in the back, we're shoving cookies in our mouth, rather than like, I eat a cookie or two and I feel satiated. Right. And then also that experience, which kind of flips us around to the beginning of me dumbing myself down, right?
Yes.
Is literally your grandma was like, I'm done. I want my light to go out. I'm going to eat food. And how we do that.
Right.
And I just want to touch on the idea of emotional eating. And that's something that I really work with people on, is how we use food to cope with our feelings and emotions. And how many times am I teaching a class, and then afterwards I have all this energy and it's like, I just want a little bite of something, or I want to eat something, right? And that is appropriate in the way that like food does bring us back into our body. It does ground us. It is what we do for celebration. So in one level, and is a source of helping us deal with our emotions. It's just when it's the only source, when we don't have those other ways to deal. And usually what happens, Jennifer, is someone's fine with emotional eating until they gain weight. And then when they gain weight, then they call me, right?
Yeah.
So it's okay to stuff your feelings and not actually get to what's really present up to the point of gaining weight. And then when you gain weight, but that's how our body gets our attention. For me, that's how my body got my attention.
Yeah.
Right. It's like my weight would go up, and then usually my weight would go up in conjunction to the amount of negative self-talk I was doing. So it was that gauge. If I was really mean to myself, my weight would start to go up, and then my body at a certain point would be like, ding, ding, ding. It's like, oh, I'm being so mean to myself. Right. Which you would think would be the opposite. I thought that if the meaner I was, the more control I would get around my food. But literally, when I feel good about my body, I do feel that I fuel myself in such a nicer way.
Yeah.
It's
I feel
when I'm
that too.
being mean that it's just like, then there's that compulsion.
Right. I know one of the things that has really helped me, because I really did used to, once I started to understand that I'm feeling these feelings, I don't want to feel these feelings, let me put food down my face. And it literally is like pushing that emotion back down. And now I feel better, but I wouldn't feel better after I ate the food. So it's like, okay, I want the pizza. I'm eating the pizza. Okay, that's getting that emotion down. I feel comforted. But then after that, it's like, well, now I feel shame. Now I feel guilt. Now I should have eaten that. And so a couple things I did was I started thinking all the way through before I would eat the whatever food, like think all the way through it. How am I going to feel after I eat this? And starting to bring that into my decision making of my choice. And that really helped me a lot. And then to also, before I'm eating, I don't want to label food good and bad, but the foods that I feel like, okay, if I'm eating this, it's probably not going to help my weight loss. Before I would eat that food, I would stop and and I still do it. I just say, I choose to feel, because I want to feel the emotion. Let me just feel this emotion. And then after I felt it and processed it, if I still want to eat whatever I want to eat, okay, fine. Like, fine, have the cookie. But I really noticed that when I feel that emotion first, either the craving goes away, I don't need it anymore, or I eat less of whatever it is, or I'm more empowered to replace it. So instead of the cookie, I'll grab some grapes, and then I eat the grapes and I feel great. And I don't have any of that shame after. And then the whole thing, just emotionally, I just feel so much better all the way around. So those have been some things I've been doing that have really helped. Yeah, really helped.
And you know what I love that I think that would be really helpful, and you touched on it, but I want to bring it out even more, is to let yourself, because in that moment, it's like, oh, I want that thing, right? to say to that part of you that wants a thing, you can still have it.
Yeah.
You're still allowed to have it. We're just going to feel this first.
Yes.
And
Yes.
really, and if you want to later, like really, it's not about having it or not having it. That's the important piece. Like whatever it is not bad.
Yeah.
Right? The pattern of jumping over the emotions to the thing is the pattern we're wanting to change.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were to even say, if I let myself feel this and move through this feeling that it in the moment feels like it's never going to go away. Like when I'm
Right.
angry, it feels like it'll never go away. But if
Right.
I give myself that permission to feel, and I still almost as it's like, okay, well, I did that. I'm going to eat that thing, and from that place of like relaxed, and then maybe you don't need it, but
Right.
it's not even about needing it or not needing it. It's
Yeah.
about that really working through it.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for that. I feel like that was really powerful, Jennifer. And the other piece that you said that I loved was the shame piece.
Mm-hmm.
And, the fact of like working yourself through that and thinking about it, sometimes that can work. And sometimes it can work after the fact,
Mm-hmm.
right? But what happens is we stay in the shame,
Mm-hmm.
and then we stay here and we start making choices from the shame. And that looks like, I'm going to restrict. I'm not going to do that again. Right. So we never actually get to the emotion that we were feeling. And now we're stuck in the shame. So I think the biggest tool is not to fix the emotional eating, but to deal with the shame afterwards, and to
Mm-hmm.
really look at turning the shame into, and it's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy, but if you want to change your relationship with your body and food and you want to stop emotional eating, you're going to want to take that shame and love on it. Here I am again. I can't believe I did that. Oh, I feel so, oh, wow. Okay. Getting curious. Curiosity is such an amazing energy to bring to these moments. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
wonder why I did that. Oh, I must be feeling this way, right? It's like bringing curiosity in allows the mind to go from that's disgusting. How can you do that? To wonder why I did that. Wonder what has been present. Oh, okay. I didn't sleep for 2 nights. And then I've been eating this. And then I had coffee too late. And now I'm angry. And now my kids this. And now that situation, which wasn't that big of a deal, has made me emotionally eat. And now I'm feeling shame of it. But it's been this long line that's been moving up to it, which I would actually have control of. But now I'm making it about the food not having control, which actually I could have just got up and meditated for 5 minutes. That's the control that I have.
Yeah.
In these loving ways, not about the food, right? We have to take that emphasis off the food and not make the food the issue, the body the issue. No, it's these ways of loving and caring and doing the tools. And am I working too late? Am I putting my work so much ahead? Am I putting my clients so much ahead of everything else that we think that that's going to serve us?
Right. Oh, so much truth and wisdom, which thank you. Thank you for sharing because it's so powerful. I often, as you're talking, I realize that I want to love my food. I really do. I want to love my food. I want to love my body and I want to put food into my body, which feels very loving. And sometimes it's almost like when I haven't really done it in a while, but when I would like binge eat or eat something bad, it's almost like I'm punishing myself, if that makes any sense at all. Even though the pizza, the ice cream, the cookies, the whatever, like they taste good in the moment, it's almost like I'm punishing myself with these things. Whereas when I'm just much happier when I eat a lot of fruits and vegetables. I'm just a lot happier and I feel good. And it doesn't feel like I'm punishing my body. It feels like I'm actually loving my body, the more of that kind of food that I put into it. But it's just, I don't know, you got me thinking about so many things here of just like it in some ways, it's like beating ourselves up, right? And when we diet and some of that diet food, it's just not that good. But then we eat this like not good stuff for so long just to get a few pounds off and then we're miserable the whole time. And it's just like, is this really worth it? Like, I don't think it is. I don't think it is. I just want to be happy and feel good, love my food, love my body. At the end of the day, that's really ultimately what I want.
Yes. And if you were my client, we would really slow down and look at, where is that punishment coming from? What was the
Yeah.
root of that punishment? Where did that show up in your life early on?
Hmm.
And how are you perpetuating that in your own life? And sometimes we do that then with food, right? So if we were being punished in a certain way, or we were around people who were being punished, or like we end up the first perpetrator, and I say that from like, it can be our dad just saying something flippantly, right?
Yeah.
But that first initial experience can then be how we end up living our lives with ourselves. So that inner critic is
Mhm.
actually the inner critic that started from a long time ago, right? Now
Yeah.
we get to evaluate, is that punishment necessary? And by looking at it and what you're saying is like, oh, I'm punishing myself. So it's not about the food, it's about this feeling of punishment
Yeah.
that you're
Yeah.
working with.
Right.
And is that necessary? And is there another way to do that? And it's like,
Yeah.
instead of having your nose in the corner, could you sit down and have a nice conversation with yourself?
I love that. That's so powerful. It always does come back to our inner state, our emotions, and being willing. I've done so much of this work, and I honestly, I really love it. And I do a lot of this work with our clients too, because it just, that inner state is everything. And if you're willing to like have the courage and get in there and go deep and look at some of this stuff, that's really where the answers are. I believe this 100%. That's where the answers are. So I love that you're here and you're validating all of this of like, guys, just get in there and do the inner work. And you're right. The punishment thing, I know exactly where that connects to, because I
I
came
figured you
from an
would.
abusive childhood. Yeah, I came from abuse. And so that's where it connects to. And so when you start to then understand like, oh, this is actually connected to this and that's connected to this, and instead of judging it, now we have an awareness around it. Now we're really empowered to understand ourselves, I think, so much better. And from there, positive change can flow instead of forcing and beating ourselves up, trying to, force and control this change to happen.
Yes,
Yeah.
you nailed it.
Oh, you nailed it. Like such good stuff. Such good. Marla, I could just sit here and talk to you for hours. This is so fantastic. And I know that there are people listening who really needed to hear this. I needed to hear this today. And I know that they did too. And so I hope we really helped some people and inspired them to love your body exactly as it is, especially as business owners, and take a look at how are we showing up in our businesses and how does that correlate to our own body image, and really start to tie those two together. I think it's so powerful. I don't know, a couple years ago, I really started to make this correlation between how I was nourishing my body and my showing up in my business. And that was actually one of the catalysts that really helped me to eat a lot more healthy foods, because I noticed that when I was eating healthy stuff throughout the day, I didn't have the brain fog. I had the energy. I show up for my clients much more clear-headed versus eating a lot of other stuff that didn't give me that for my body. So actually my business really did help me as a catalyst of just like, I need to eat these healthier things because it's actually better for my business, better for my clients. And that was a huge one for me as well. But all right, we're going to run out of time. And I know that you have to hop on your next one, and I do too. But Marla, will you please just take a moment and share where people can find you? Tell us about your new book if they want more information about you.
Yes. Okay. So I have two things I want to offer you all. First is my new book, Befriend Yourself, Finding Freedom with Food and Peace with Your Body. It comes out October 1st. So if you pre-order, you're going to get my Body Compassion Collective course, which is a self-guided course, and it really dives into this. Also, you're going to get exclusive access to my Befriend Yourself workshop that's going to happen towards the end of October. So I'd love for you to join and become a part of that and start this off right away. And then the other free resource that I have for you all is my emotional eating. It's called Breaking the Cycle of Emotional Eating. And this is a free course. It's free, but I really don't hold back, Jennifer. Like, I give a lot of the good nuggets in there. So go ahead and check that out. And I think it will really serve you. And there's opportunity in there to apply for a one-on-one free conversation so we can get a little bit deeper with what's going on with you. So check that out. Check out my website, loveyourbodyloveyourself.com. I'm also a Reiki master, so I do a lot of Reiki healings on YouTube, touching on all of all of the stuff that we talked about and a lot of other issues. So yeah, come on over.
Yay.
Yeah.
Woo, I love it. All right, you guys, and we will put all of Marla's information in the show notes as well. So if you go to the notes for this episode, you can find her. And please check her out, especially if this is an area that you have struggled. You don't have to struggle with it for the rest of your life. And Marla definitely is the person who's here to help you. So Marla, thank you so much for being here with me today.
So much for having me. How wonderful to be with you.
Thank you. All right, you guys, that's it for today's show. Get out there and have a happy, productive day, y'all. Bye. I hope you found today's episode of the Happy Productive Podcast inspiring. Every successful business is formed by a set of small, consistent, and attainable steps. If you want to learn more, come visit us at jenniferdawncoaching.com to take your next step and learn how to meet your business goals. On our website, you're going to find free resources along with links to the life-changing coaching programs that have transformed the lives of so many of our clients, including the Coaching Academy and our Unbreakable retreats. Many of them started their journey by listening to this podcast. That's it. Thank you for listening and stay tuned for our next episode.